Hello, welcome all of you again. We have congratulations. We have got into the third day of our program, and today is more exciting than the previous days because we are going to enter into the heart of language question. Well, we'll start with the history of sign language, but we have uh, pioneering contributors to that field here, those who designed dictionary and who understand lexicography more than anybody else. In 21st century, in our time, there are more and more varieties of dictionary concerning entertainment, sport, discipline-specific dictionaries, lifestyle, culture, art, uh, dictionaries that are self-reflexive, and dictionary that are give professional meanings, and those that concern with synonyms, word roots, so many things, and they all involve a deep connect with cultures, uh, speakers of language, um, writers, and the large human world. You know, only then these many diverse ways of looking at language and the words may emerge. Today, we have even more um, nuanced approach to it because the people here not only engage with words, but words in uh, signed forms and their evolution via human body language. So that is how I understand it at the moment. But with you, I'm going to travel with them to explore more. With us, we have Neeta, Gopalakrishnan sir, Shaumik. I think Samir also is joining us at the end of the program. Over to Neeta.
Yes, thank you. We will straight away, I think, like you said, dive into looking at how Indian Sign Language started and how it has traveled through the years to be documented, have dictionaries that are in place now. So I'll now request Mr. Gopalakrishnan to take us through the history and how sign language has evolved.
Namaste to everyone. I am Gopalakrishnan. So I hope we all remember my name. Very happy to meet all of you again for the third class in Indian Sign Language. So I'm going to talk about the history of Indian Sign Language. So I'm going to talk about the history of Indian Sign Language. You know, when the British had were controlling India at that point of time. So at that point of time, we didn't have a proper Indian sign language. So well, it was kind of a gestural and iconic sign language. And after that, when the Britishers came to India, when they saw that there wasn't any proper sign language being used, so we have a lot of regional languages, right? So it will be very difficult for us to have sign language signs for all the regional languages. So when the British people had come here, they had started a school for the deaf, and then they started teaching their British Sign Language to deaf children in India. In 1947, after we got our independence, we just had very few schools at that point of time, schools for the deaf, special schools. So when we started using the manual alphabet of the British Sign Language system, so the Indian people had kind of changed some of the letters, some of the alphabet that British people were using. So, for example, A, O, and J, some of those letters were signed a little different. So later on, I studied at the Little Flower Convent School in Chennai. There, sign language was not used. They were completely against sign language, and we were using the oral method. So during school time, we used sign language. Okay, let's continue. In 1965, during the Olympics, when I was selected to represent the Indian team, all of us, we were all the deaf people who went in the team, who were in the team, we never used sign language. So we used very little bit of signs. So we were more of oralist, and we used to speak and all that. So when we got there to America, the van driver, who's a hearing person, he was driving and signing also to another deaf person. So I asked them what they were signing. So they said they're signing American Sign Language. They're using the American Sign Language. So at that point of time, I thought, what kind of sign language India is using? So probably India is using Indian Sign Language. So, for example, during that event, we had people from Britain, we had people from England and Japan. So they all had their own sign languages, like British Sign Language, Japanese Sign Language, and all those sign languages completely different. But when those people had come together during the event, they were able to communicate with each other. Around 60 to 70% of them were able to communicate, using some common signs. Probably, like 40% of the signs were not being able to understood, and they were not understood. Probably because it was more locally and culturally connected with their particular country. And during the inaugural session, each and every country had their own sign language interpreter. There was a American Sign Language interpreter, then National Sign interpreter, and I saw all of them signing, but I couldn't understand anything. They were really fast when they were signing. There was one person who was interpreting in international signs that was more gestural, so I could understand a little bit. So after I came back to India, so I was really amazed. I was very, excited about the sign language which I saw over there. And here there was nothing yet developed as such. So in schools, most of the schools, all the schools, the deaf schools, they were against sign language. They didn't allow us to use sign language. So later on, when Dr. Madan Vashishta, he came from America, so he published the first dictionary. So it was published via the All India Federation of the Deaf, and that was the first time something called Indian Sign Language was documented. So that I was very happy to see that kind of that document, that book. But later on, we never had any classes in Indian Sign Language. So I never thought that we needed to learn Indian Sign Language through proper classes and all that. I just thought it was a natural language. So later on, the National Institute of Hearing Handicap, they initiated another project called Indian Sign System. So I was invited to have a discussion with them. So what there is that Indian science system used the American manual alphabets to, for the Indian consonants and all that. So I felt that, America, they use the single-handed manual alphabet, and here in India, we use two-handed. For example, in Tamil, we have the word for water is panni. So this is a sign, like in South, we have panni, and in Bombay, they say pani. Kerala, they say vellam. So we have different ways of saying the same thing. So with the Indian science system, you have to, figure spell the word. So for example, in Tamil, we have to say Tanir, Malayalam, we have to say Bellam. So when you figure spell all that, it creates a lot of confusion. So at that point of time, I said Indian science system doesn't work. So a lot of funding was wasted on those kind of projects. Then later on, we had a few people from England that came to Chennai, and we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Madras Association for the Deaf. So we had published a seminar for the 50th celebration, 50th anniversary celebration. So in the seminar, there was something printed like interpreters are available. So when those people came from England, they wanted an interpreters because they were touring South India, so they wanted an interpreter with them. So they probably wanted a coda or a soda, sibling of a deaf adult. So we had a selected person who was a sibling of a deaf adult, and they asked whether he had a certificate in interpreting, but he never had any certificate in interpreting. So they asked, you had published that, like the interpreters are available. So I thought they were professional certified interpreters. So do you have classes or, like courses for interpreting in India? So I said there weren't any. They said you shouldn't, mention that interpreters are available if you don't have any proper certification. So in British Sign Language, they have different levels of courses. They have level 1, level 2, level 3, and so on. So once you complete all those levels, you get certified. And so it's a completely professional way to do it. So in India, we don't have that. So you shouldn't specify that you have interpreters or something like that. So they invited me to, invited me over there to have a look at the classes, the interpreting classes. So when I visited them, I learned there were a lot of information that they were giving out, how to get the attention of deaf people and so on. So I learned a lot of things, and I came back. And with the association as I was working with, the Madras Association of the Deaf, so we started sign language classes. What I did was we typed around, we had printed around 1,000 letters. Nowadays we have WhatsApp and messaging and so much easier way to communicate. That we didn't have things that we have now. So we had to write letters and send it out. We sent it out to so many people, different NGOs, to government officials and all that. So 1,000 letters we had posted, and we got responses from only 10 people. So with these 10 people, we had a 3-month course, and I started teaching whatever I learned from England. And then the second batch, I thought it would be better if we send letters to only 250 people. 250 letters were sent, but we never got any responses. So at that point of time, I was kind of like very sad because I thought that people were really interested to learn sign language. And then later on, the Christopher Blinded Mission, CBM, which is headquartered in Bangalore, which is a German-based organization. So they had started a project to develop the Indian Sign Language. So since I was involved in teaching and I was involved in some kind of courses, they invited me for a meeting. And during the meeting, I met a lot of new people, new faces. So I got introduced to all of them. And CPM earmarked around 80 lakhs for the project. So I told them that, wait a minute. So we already had the funds given previously for this kind of work, but nothing much has happened. For example, Madan Vashishta had come after he published, nothing much happened. Then we had the Indian science system, a lot of funds were spent on that, nothing much happened. And now CPM wants to, spend so much of funds, around 80 lakhs. So let's not do it. But they said that they are aware that Dr. Madan's book did not get much success, and then ISS also didn't get much success. But they really wanted to do a project, an Indian Sign Language project, to document different signs. So they asked me to work on this. I spent some time, thinking about that, and later on I agreed. And the project was handled by the Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya in Coimbatore. So we started a 2-year project, and I was selected as the project during the project. And my son Amresh was also selected, and we had a team of another 3 people, and we started making the dictionary. It was a very, very big learning experience for us, and it was not an easy task. So first of all, when we got the funding, so we visited a few places in Tamil Nadu, for example, Chennai, Coimbatore, Madurai, Tirunelveli, and all these places. What we did was we started taking still photographs of signers, and we had made a list, a lexicon of around, each. The lexicon was divided into different categories, for example, housing, family, animals, colors, flowers, and dining. So all these, it was divided into different categories. So we had around 250 words in the lexicon that we wanted to collect signs for. And then, so all these categories were further plugged into different units. So according to them, we had taken a lot of still photographs of the signers. But then, for example, in still photography, you won't be able to see the movement of the sign. So it is very difficult to analyze the signs. So we do off all that work, and then we started taking videos of all the signers. So similarly, we had so many videos from the Kerala state, from Delhi, from Madhya Pradesh, from Maharashtra. So we got all the data from different places, and we had 5 computer sets. And the first one was science from Tamil Nadu, the second one was science from Kerala, third one from Maharashtra, and so on. And Calcutta also. So, we had to analyze all the signs. So, from all these places, if there were majority of signs similar, then we had to categorize, group them separately. And it took a lot of time, like around 3-4 months, we had to analyze the numbers and to, like make line drawings of the signs, and then we had published a dictionary. Then we had invited all associations for the deaf for validation. We got the feedback from all the deaf people. And then after the feedback, then we had a second round. And again, we had the national conference, second national conference. And again, there was a validation done, and we had the final version of it. After 2 years, we had published the dictionary. It was released on 2000, November 24th, 2000. So that was launched during that time. But as I said, we had a list of 2,500 words, but we were able to document science only for around 1,600 words. And second, we also had another dictionary which we had published, which was related to ITI and technical words. So we visited some of the places where, like ITI courses were offered for deaf people, and then we had collected the science. The third one was banking terminologies, terms related to the bank and financial sector. So again, we had collected a lot of data. Again, we had published the dictionary, and it was very hard work, like finally we had a dictionary. So after we published the dictionary, what was the next step? So the next logical step was to have classes, courses. So what we decided was we will have 3 levels, level A, level B, and level C, which was presented to the Rehabilitation Council of India, because they are the apex body. They actually are the body to approve all courses for pertaining to disabilities. So around June, July 2001, we started the diploma course. So a diploma in Indian Sign Language interpreting. So it was a yearly course, and we had a couple of classes, and then I had to leave Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya, and then I joined National Institute of Hearing Handicap and continued working as an ISL instructor. It was very hard work, but I thank CPM for initiating this project, and it was successful now. Now, since the dictionary has been published and distributed, so the dictionary was in English. So right now, the same dictionary is available in English and in Tamil also. So it's getting translated into Hindi, into Telugu, into Bengali. So they're translating the text into different languages. It will be available soon. So that was the history of Indian Sign Language and how it evolved in India. And later on, so that is how Indian Sign Language was grew in India. And later on, now we have the ISL the Indian Sign Language Research and Training Center. Now they have online resources, dictionaries, and all that. I heard that they have around 6,000 words. And at CIIL, the Central Institute of Indian Languages, they also have a corpus project where Amresh was working. So they had developed a corpus, Indian Sign Language corpus, and they were doing a lot of research and analysis on that. And now we also have another organization called DEF, the Deaf Enabled Foundation. They're also making a lot of videos and dictionaries, and now Uniki is also in the process of making resources in Indian Sign Language. So our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, so he, like in the NEP also, the National Education Policy, for all this while, there was no mention of sign language, but right now there is a mention of sign language in the NEP. It's not only for the deaf children, but even hearing children, regular children, they can learn sign language for better communication. If they can learn sign language, then it will be easy for us to for them to communicate with hearing impaired people. So, so this particular thing is very important. That is in the national education policy. All this is being mentioned right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gopalakrishnan. So,
yeah, thank you very much. We didn't have ISL for so many years, like right now, ISL is being recognized and used everywhere. I'm pretty happy.
yes, that's right. So, any language, especially like ISL, which was being used for so many years.
And I'm also happy that IIT is such a huge, big institution, one of the top institutions in India, is also having a course in sign language. I'm really happy with that. I thank Dr. H. Shardan for initiating this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll have Mohammed Shafiq now talk about the journey afterwards, because he has worked with the Indian Sign Language Research and Training Center with the process of creating dictionary, about which Mr. Gopalakrishnan just mentioned that they have close to about 9,000 to 10,000 words that have been documented now. So he will take us through the journey.
Thank you, Neeta. Thank you to everyone. And thank you to all IIT students. Welcome. And this is, like Gopalakrishnan sir, he had elaborated the history of Indian Sign Language. So the deaf community is very small. So, and we haven't documented much about the history. So, about the history, with what the Gopalakrishnan sir had said, in the 1980s, when Dr. Madan had come to India, and there was another person, Ulrike Zation, who had come and done a lot of research in, in Indian Sign Language. So when Dr. Ulrike Zation, when she started to see that there was no courses in India, so she did a lot of research. She did a research in India and in Pakistan also. So she did analysis whether the sign language used in Pakistan and India were the same or different. So according to her analysis, 85% of the signs were similar and 25% of the signs were different. It's probably because of the cultural influence. So she had been here to recognition, and she had been here in the year 2000. And then later on, we had this, like the level A, B, C course, which was started by the RCI at NIHH, the National Institute. So she, like she was involved in that, and there was another person called Sibaji, but not much work was done. So after, the dictionary published by Ramakrishna Mission and the course started, not many people were, doing, offering the courses. Only a few NGOs, very small NGOs were offering. But later on, ISL was set up, and a lot of different areas are being looked into, research, ISL interpreting, things like that. So we also have courses for Indian Sign Language trainers. So deaf people can become sign language trainers. So initially we had 3 levels, level A, B, and C. But totally it was around 1,000 hours, and then you get a certificate. So people who completed the course didn't have much skills because the time they spent on the course was very less. They didn't have much practice. So now it's a 2-year course, and it involves a lot of topics and how to interpret and how to translate, and a lot of practice sessions. And like for the 2 years, they have to voice and sign and do reverse interpreting, and then they have early intervention projects from class 0 to 5th. For example, we have on the textbooks, we have the text and pictures. For deaf children, reading the text is very difficult because their language is different. Spoken languages like Hindi and English, it's very difficult for the deaf children to read and understand because they don't acquire the language naturally. So in early intervention centers, the textbooks are translated in, they have a QR code on the textbook. And if you scan the code, then you get the video of that particular topic and all the different lessons. So each and every page has a QR code for different subjects like history and mathematics and stuff like that. So the QR code is useful, like both parents and the child can learn sign language, like translated of the textbooks. So it's very easy for the parents to learn and communicate with the children. And the accessibility, there's a lot of accessibility involved in that for deaf children. So it was a 6 month project which was done, and later on, hopefully, this will be taken longer term. 2018. So previously, we just had very few people who were really experts, like we had Raksha and Ramesh. But now we have around 6 people who are, like experts in Indian Sign Language. And there are also interpreters working over there together with them. So what they do is all the text are translated into Indian Sign Language. So Monday to Friday, the work is done. So videos are taken, like we have a studio there with lighting and green screen. So around 3,000 words were made initially, and we had edited all that. And then that was first we had sent it out for getting feedback from different people. So we had got all the feedback, and for around 3 days we had analyzed all the feedback. We had some of the people, like who said some of the sites were wrong, and so we made another version of it, and again we had, and then it was released. The thumb drive was released. Not that we used to have CDs and all that, but now it was copied onto a thumb drive and distributed. So we had another set of work done, another 3,000 words made. So we had 6,000 words. So I'm under different topics, science and law and agriculture, horticulture, and all this. So what we did was, since we didn't know the terms, we didn't know the meaning of the terms. So what we did was we had an expert from the field, the hearing person, and we asked him if the meaning of the particular word was correct, and all that kind of work was done. And the person, the expert, had to explain what the particular word meant, and then we had to sign that, and then we had to take videos, and again we had a workshop to validate it. And again we had 6,000 words, and the third set we had around 4,000, and finally we now have 10,000 signs which has been published. So it's there on the website also. So long time back, it was just 1,000 words, and now we have around 10,000. So ISL-RTC is the only center. We didn't have such kind of center before, so now we have a ISL-RTC. and a lot of work has been done. I think 10,000 words is not enough. We still have to add a lot of new signs in the lexicon. For example, if we have in the dictionary, we have new signs which are being invented. So we'll have to see, and the signs will be added to the dictionary definitely. For example, there are some gestures, like some signs for which we don't have English words. So the aim of the dictionary is, for the hearing people to learn sign language. And also for the deaf people, because what happens is in classrooms, the teacher really don't explain certain things. So for the deaf children, they can actually look at this resource and then look at the videos and then understand the signs. So hopefully in future we do a lot of work and we have captioning and site recognition systems and all that. So to add even Deaf People Foundation with the NGO, they also have a dictionary with a lot of words and explanations. And then Silex also had created a dictionary, a mobile app dictionary. So there you can learn sign language and the meanings of each word. So not much of work, but the major work was done by ISL 10,000 words. Yeah, and now I'll pass it on to Rahul to talk about the work done by Uniki. Okay, yes, so this is Rahul here. So Uniki also had done a lot of work in Indian Sign Language. And so even in Unity, we had done some work on Indian Sign Language. We had created some basic words, and we had created some signs of some basic words and have them online. So for basic communication, like for getting people to learn basic communication with deaf people. So it's an ongoing work right now. Gopalakrishnan sir. So previously at APD, Amresh had produced a dictionary for horticultural terms. So through Sinex, and we also had done a lot of work on that, and we had made a dictionary. So in the state of Karnataka, like in the villages, when all this dictionary was distributed, they were able to use this dictionary for agriculture and farming purposes. Earlier, we had very less interpreters. We had around 20 to 30. But now we have a lot of interpreters, around 250 skilled interpreters, even though we have more than that. But in India, we need around 50,000 sign language interpreters. Nowadays we have online resources, online meetings, and a lot of people have started sign language resources like Uniki, ISL, and different NGOs, and Let's Sign, and all these companies have started. So I'm very happy for all their work. Thank you very much.
Great. Yes, Rahul, you want to say something?
Yes, the hearing people, what I think is some of the organization and some businesses. So some of the organizations, some of the businesses are handled or managed by hearing people. So they shouldn't decide what kind of resources should be available. So we need a lot of deaf people working in these kind of projects so that we know what kind of resources should be available. So because both hearing people and deaf people need to work together because we are working with two different kinds of languages, spoken languages and sign languages. So if you work together, then the work will be much more useful for people. Otherwise, it's not going to be that useful. So this is Shafiq here, just to add to what Rahul was saying. There was a hearing person who wanted to, create a sign language resource. And I told them that it's better to have a deaf person to do it, but he didn't listen to me, and he actually made the resource, but didn't get any. People didn't like it at all. Deaf children and deaf people, they prefer videos made by deaf persons because, they can connect with the signer, they can connect with the sign language used. So, organizations like ISL and all that, they are creating a lot of videos. So what happens is, if you have a deaf person in the forefront and a hearing person assisting him, for example, this person was asking me the sign for the word to. So I said, we don't have a sign for the word to, it's all in the sign language that is being used. So certain things like that, if they can't understand, so whatever projects they're going to do is not going to be successful. The only thing I'm pretty impressed about is, deaf people, deaf children can't go for higher education. The max they were able to go for was 8 standard or 10 standard, and after that they get very low level jobs. And now we have a lot of mainstreaming, and the children can't, gain much knowledge or education in mainstreaming. So my vision is that children can get very good education, so they can develop very fast.
Yeah, thank you, Shafiq. Thank you, all of you.